You guys know we love talking about special teams on here.
Oh, boy.
Maybe one of the few shows that likes to talk about special teams. I think people just mull over it. It's a big part of the game. But anyway, last week we talked about the special teams being a big deal. We're going to watch that, something to look at. Dave Toub said he wants everybody to return, no matter how deep it is in the end zone. He wants everybody to return it. JD has a problem with that, even though it's special teams, but JD likes to practice the way you're going to play in the regular season. So if it's in the end zone, let it be in the end zone. Get the ball to 25, call it a day. But Toub wants to see what he's got from his return men, which is fine. So we got to see a little bit about our starting kick returner, Deneric Prince. So got the starting 9 at kick return. He had 2 returns. One he caught at the 4, brought it to the 24, so 20-yard net gain there. The other he caught 4 yards deep into the end zone. This is the one that I wanted to ask you about. Caught it 4 yards deep into the end zone. Took it to the 13. So netting around 17 yards, but getting it at the 13-yard line. Giving us a horrible field position. I mean, this happened a lot last year, man. When Pacheco was taking now the end zone and giving us the 15. Like, dude, take the touchback. Let's get to the 25, man. We can't be leaving. Every inch matters in NFL and football. So there's 2 questions here. A, do you like this philosophy that Dave Toub has? And B, if you look at Toub just over the years, the special teams isn't getting better under Dave Toub. In the first few years, Toub was getting an interview for the head coaching job with San Diego or the LA Chargers. And then now it's kind of sputtered, and some Chiefs media people are talking about Toub possibly being on the hot seat. Should any consider firing him after this year if the special teams looked as bad as it did last year? But first, let's just talk about the kick return philosophy that he has. What do you make of this whole returning regardless of the end zone stuff? And then also, just what do you make of that?
JD knows more than me about this, but I as a fan, I get the logic of having them try it. I'd rather know who's cut out for it more than practice what you're going to do later on, because you can instill that in them through practice throughout the season. Especially if you're doing it with a player who's not an integral part of the offense. Like let's say Prince makes a team. Let's say Prince is the kick returner. He's going to be doing a lot of special teams work. So drill that in his head to be smart about when to return it, when not to return it. I don't mind that. I want to see who's cut out for it. I want to see them return it personally. As far as our decline, I did some deep diving into that too. You're very correct. It's gotten worse by a lot over the years. So this last year, we averaged 19 yards per kick return. It was 4th worst in the league.
Wow.
Pacheco was our main kick returner. But to be fair to all the Pacheco lovers out there, Pacheco had better numbers in our overall return numbers because it was that bad outside of him. In 2021, we were 10th overall with 23.4 yards per return. Our main kick returner was Pringle. In 2020, we were 5th overall, 26 per return. Our main kick returners were Hardman and Pringle, but Pringle did actually a better job than Hardman that year, and I think that's when he became the main guy. 2019, we were 6th overall with 25 per return. Hardman was our main kick returner. He made the Pro Bowl that year as a return specialist. 2018, do you remember our kick returner that year?
Was it Albert Wilson?
As Tremont Smith.
Oh.
Who averaged 27 per return, actually. 2017, our main kick returner was Akeem Hunt. Our best years, it looks like, Tremont Smith, but when you get to a certain point, a guy somewhat needs to perform in other parts of the field other than that, right? You better be a badass kick returner if you're only sticking around to be a kick returner, right? Yeah. Usually it's a guy who functions on other parts of the offense, whether he's a cornerback or a third string running back or something. Judging by this, our best years are receiver. Maybe we need to find a receiver to return it, because that whole Deneric Prince, Nile Davis cutout, it's not. I'm more of a fan of a guy with wiggle. I know obviously they want a straight line guy who just goes. Dare we try CEH back there? Give him some use. If he's not our day one starter, if Pacheco's our guy, I don't know. Would CH got a little wiggle to him?
I don't know, man.
I mean, he get injured in like 2 returns. I mean, I think that's a bigger
Well,
issue.
Richie James had a nice return on. I mean, I know he wasn't a starting guy, but he had a nice return on
I'd be
Saturday.
totally fine with Richie James doing it.
Yeah.
I know there are people joking about CEH getting cut at some point. So I'm like, before you cut him, try him a kick returner first. See if he's got any legs there. Because I mean, I know I forgot his name, was dogging his vision, saying his vision's still a problem. And I guess if your vision's a problem at running back, it's not going to be much better at kick returning.
True.
I don't know, man. I'm going to be fair and give it another couple weeks. It's crazy that one of the biggest things I'll be watching is kick returning over the next 2 weeks.
It's an issue.
But I'm like desperate. I just want to try anyone. I mean, we don't have any like expendable guys at running back that I'm like, no way. I'm almost to the point where I don't want Pacheco doing it because he's taking hits and he's already having, shoulder issues and whatnot. So I don't want to really have him back there anymore. If we can have someone else out there who can do it, close to what he does, and I'd rather have that.
Yeah, I will say I think they were trying Prince out there because, I mean, pretty much the whole week or last few weeks, James has been the main punt return and kick return guy in practice and stuff. They trotted him out there to start. I mean, I thought it was going to be a big boost. His first one wasn't bad. That last one, man, it's tough to make something out of nothing when you're feeling something from the 4 yards back in the end zone. It's tough, man. Because he got 17 yards from there, but he only got to 13. I mean, that's rough. I mean, it's not going to look good. And I'm not dogging him. I think it's the philosophy behind it. Because, like, at the end of the day, let that shit go. Get to 25. I know you want to see what you got. Richie James, the only kick return he had was at 31 yards. That's pretty good. I mean, we're talking about that. He's a guy who's got a little bit of wiggle. He's shown to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's one guy I think he will end up being the kick returner and punt returner. Not that I have anything against Prince doing that, but I just think he's had the most experience with it. Let him do that. And quite honestly, we're not going to be seeing that many kick returns anymore. I think it's going to be most teams are going to settle with get the touchback into the 25, unless you're desperate, you're getting dominated. You need to have that boost. But yeah, I mean, punt return is the one where I tend to want to look at more so. Remigio was the main one doing that on Sunday.
Daenerys Pitts' better return was 20 yards, which is not good.
No.
I mean, I told you last year we averaged 19 a game, and that was 4th worst in the league. So
yeah,
20 would get you at about like 7th worst in the league. So it's not very good.
And we'll see what he does against Arizona tomorrow night. But
yeah,
still got time to find out who the guy is. I mean, I think the early odds-on favorite is going to be James to be the return man, which I'll be happy with. Remigio had 2 of the punts. I don't know if he's our starting punt returner, but because by the time they punted the ball finally, it was like our third stringers in there because New Orleans moved the ball at us at will. So we never actually got to see who our starting punt returner would have been.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.